Warning, this content may be disturbing to some audiences. Subscribe, if you dare.
The confirmation that there's an afterlife would blow humanity's minds. Mass amounts of research would go into figuring out how it works, whether there's true science behind it. Hey everybody, welcome to ANECDOSED. People ask Reddit. What conspiracy theory, if proven to be 100% true right now, would have the most drastic impact on humanity?
Number 1.
Commenter. The aliens creating the pyramid, and Thoth's spaceship under the Sphinx. Person B. There are some who believe that the Egyptians were in contact with aliens. They allege that the pyramids are superhuman achievements and that some murals actually depict extraterrestrials. This is simply insulting to the legacy of the ancient Egyptians. Whilst the Great Pyramid at Giza is mathematically astounding, its construction was not beyond the ingenious astronomers, scholars and architects of the time. And while the Great Pyramid stood as the tallest structure for almost 4,000 years, that does not mean that the Egyptians were friends with aliens. It only means that no culture rivaled the Egyptians at building monuments until the 19th century. Person C. My favorite theory about how the Egyptians moved those stones is that they used sound. Person D. If we could actually move things with sound, it would be the first step towards having force fields. And it would be awesome. Person E. It is entirely possible that through humming and using distinct vibrations you can lift things with sound. Totally possible that the Egyptians used this method. Person F. Honestly, aliens creating it is a better explanation than humans building it. We still don't have the technology we would need to build them in modern times. Also, going to correct you here. The spaceship isn't Thoth's. Person G. I remember seeing this documentary thing on the History Channel about how the various pyramids around the world were too correct in their dimensions and too precisely built to be done by early man as originally thought, and by extrapolating a whole bunch of patterns from them, you can not only derive the golden ratio used in architecture today, but also pi and a whole bunch of other mathematical constants that are relatively recent in their development. Their explanation? A massively advanced human civilization before living memory that left these pyramids as time capsules of basic technology in the event of a cataclysmic event, and the program pinned it as the biblical flood. Very, very questionable stuff. But incredibly interesting, and even a tiny bit plausible. Just a tiny bit. If this were ever proven to be true and we started unearthing incredibly advanced technology in random places, I think the world would change very, very quickly.
Number 2.
Commenter. I'm shocked this hasn't been said yet. Any theory involving the existence of an afterlife would have such gigantic impact and implications it's hard to get into without writing several paragraphs. This includes reincarnation, heaven or hell, any of these. The confirmation that there's an afterlife would blow humanity's minds. Mass amounts of research would go into figuring out how it works, whether there's true science behind it. Religions would change forever and many would fall to pieces. People would widely change the way they live. There would be a mix of mass panic, and at the same time joy. There really isn't a single thing in our lives that wouldn't be altered drastically. To be honest, I think if there's an afterlife, it would still be in the interest of the human race to keep it secret. Things would never be the same. Person B. You make an interesting point. However, millions of people believe in the afterlife already, and if such claims were proven true, a good portion of them would probably be like, well, yeah. Then again, those that believe do so by faith. If there was scientific evidence to back up and actually show such an existence, it would probably still blow a lot of minds. Person C. Well, the thing is, right now even people who claim to believe in an afterlife sure don't act like it. If there were an eternal afterlife, and more importantly if it were better or even just on par with our current world, then everyone's behavior would change massively. Someone dying wouldn't be a sad event anymore. Most elderly people would probably kill themselves immediately. And since you're going to spend forever in a different world, why bother gathering resources here? Why not just get to it? Really, everyone should kill themselves. Maybe have some organization that raises kids until they can have more children, then kill the parents and continue the cycle. That would ensure the afterlife doesn't stagnate, assuming that's desirable. But seriously, it wouldn't be a matter of we have to keep it secret for the good of the human race. If there were an afterlife, then the vast majority of the human race already lives in it, and we are wasting a lot of time avoiding it. There is no point in keeping this world in good shape if it really doesn't matter much to us.
Number 3.
Commenter. The Roswell UFO crash. Finding proof of life outside of our planet, especially life intelligent enough to build a craft and travel here, would be one of the most important discoveries to date. Person B. Totally, the Roswell landings, Would be an unbelievable impact to find out that we truly aren't alone in the universe, and definitely not the most advanced. Besides rekindling the space age era boom in science, math, and engineering, it would completely change our perspective on our security. Who's worried about a terrorist or two when there are Romulans on the loose? Would probably result in an even bigger defense spending boom than during the Afghanistan/Gulf Wars. Person C. I don't think we have a ton to worry about. Aliens would never raid Earth for its resources when the solar system around us has considerably more mineral wealth. Slave labor? Well, a civilization advanced enough to travel the cosmos would be able to build robots/machines to do everything for them. A few of us will probably just end up with some alien F-doll. If that is the case, I call dibs. Person D. It's probably safe to say that any alien race capable of intergalactic travel has sufficient resources to meet all of their needs. And any sort of basic minerals or simple chemicals are probably available in abundance on other planets. Maybe some really rare stuff at the bottom of the periodic table. But I doubt it, and can't really imagine highly radioactive materials being that useful for anything. So then, what does the Earth have in abundance that would be unique to the planet? It would have to be complex substances that can't be replicated by a simple machine. So basically organic matter. Now they wouldn't want fossil fuels, they would obviously be way past that stage, and it wouldn't be remotely efficient. No, I think aliens would be most interested in sampling delicacies that they have never tried before, the taste of exotic fruits, or the aroma of exotic perfumes. It was spices that drove Europeans to explore the world. People would get on rinky-dink ships and sail around the world to bring back saffron or cinnamon, and would sell it for a fortune. When Europeans came to America, they developed tastes for tobacco, sugar cane, well they had already had it but could mass produce it in the Americas, fashionable beaver pelts, and so forth. Wouldn't you pay a fortune for a Tyrannosaurus hat, or to taste the cuisine of Alpha Centauri? Not to mention to simply travel and see such an exotic place and culture. No, nobody would come to the Earth seeking some kind of simple necessities. They would come out of curiosity, and stay for the exotic forms of life and the amazing views. Hopefully they would see humans as intelligent living creatures like themselves, and not see them as savage, inferior animals. Heck, maybe they'd feel bad for us, and try to re-educate us, forcibly if needed, sending alien missionaries to teach us their space religion. Person E. The obvious answer is aliens, or proof of a metaphysical god. Either of those things would dramatically and irreversibly change the course of humanity from that point forward. In both cases we would know that we weren't alone in the universe and someone was watching us act like asses here on Earth. Person F. Proof of alien life would cause such a socio-economic uproar within society and shake the very pillars of it. Religion overall would be in an upheaval on a level never before seen, which would shape the entire moral views of society. Person G. I would vote for aliens. Reason being, it would shatter most religions. People would feel differently if they knew they weren't at the top of the food chain anymore. Not to mention if they shared technology that could assist regular people leaving the planet, most governments would unite for fear of losing the income it takes from taxes. No more control. Number 4. Commenter. I think the conspiracy theory that our own government planned 9/11. That would cause some serious revolution up the wazoo. Also, if there truly was a very select few rich and powerful Illuminati-like people who are trying to control the world through globalization. I think the start of it, according to theorists, is the euro. Bringing all the countries into one monetary and economic system. I heard they were trying to do that with Canada, the US and Mexico, but this is all conspiracy theory. Person B. I believe, much like the Kennedy assassination, they knew it was gonna happen, and just opened the doors and blamed incompetence and a need for a higher budget. After all, immediately after 9/11 they knew every tiny minuscule detail about the attackers. If they had that much detail, why didn't they act? Oh right, you don't get to get budget increases by doing your job in the US government. Nor do you get a free pass into a country that is 2 doors down from a country you want to finish a war that was already concluded 10 years prior. Person C. That the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States really were an inside job by the US government. It would demolish any standing the US had in the world, quite likely trigger a violent revolution, and as a result collapse most of the global economy. Think about the level of influence the US holds over the rest of the world and how the fall of the American empire would affect the world as a whole. Person D. That would also have a huge impact on American relations with the rest of the world, considering how America is going after Al-Qaeda for orchestrating the attacks, assuming the conspiracy did not extend internationally like some people believe. That would have repercussions for decades at the least. Person E. I would honestly say that if empirical evidence of 9/11 being an inside job were released to the masses, we would see an absolute global revolution, and possibly World War III. I remember the emotions of that day all too well. The USA would not be forgiven for a very long time. Aliens, chemtrails, lizardmen, these are all groundbreaking, but the idea that one of the largest countries in our current civilization killed their own people in order to go invade and brutalize other nations. I find that the most drastic impact would be the stark realization that our true enemy is right here at home. Person F. The theory that 9/11 was planned/executed by the American government to incite war, increase blind patriotism, and create a high surveillance police state. Basically to get us exactly where we are now. I think this would be the single most disturbing piece of information enough to get America riled enough to revolt.
Number 5.
Commenter. The one about how amazing technologies have been invented but systematically suppressed by larger corporations because it would ruin their businesses. Things such as water being turned into a viable fuel, full HD movies being able to be held in several bytes of data, cures for cancer, etc. Person B. Water being viable fuel would completely F the world. There is already a freshwater problem, and if we not only use that to drink, but also as our fuel, poorer nations would have even more problems having drinking water. Using water for fuel would be the worst thing that can happen for the world. Person C. In part this is somewhat true. A company will not release something that will take big money away from them even though it is better for the world. Look at solar power and the fact that we can have harnessed more power out of algae than we can get out of gas. They won't do it till the money train is dead then. They will come forward with the stuff they have and look like heroes. Person D. That the cure for cancer has already been discovered many years ago, but was withheld from the public so that the government could take money from the hospitals and cancer charities. People who lost loved ones to cancer would be upset, the world population would probably increase too rapidly, and people would participate more in unhealthy habits, smoking, drinking, eating bad food. Person E. That the medical field really has found the cure for most diseases, but since the treatment of these diseases makes billions and provides millions of jobs, they won't release them. I think they learned their lesson by curing polio. My dad has type 1 diabetes, we are involved in some charities, but that industry makes too much money for them to want to cure it.
Number 6.
I think the conspiracy that Christianity is false and there is no God would be the most chaotic. Christians would kill themselves, priests would be killed, churches and Bibles will be burned, Israel will fall, the Vatican will fall, the Pope will be assassinated. There will be no more Christmas, science will be F up, we need some reason for creation aside from turning to God, don't we? Cities will fall, Boy and Girl Scouts will fail, and so much more I can't possibly fit. Make sure to share your personal story in the comments below and have the opportunity to be featured in a future video. Also, if you like these topics, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button to continue seeing more content like this every day. See you next time.